Shame. Good morning, everyone. Paul Wiedefeld, the chairman of the Maryland Transportation Authority Board, hereby call the meeting of the MDTA Board to order at 9:10 a.m. This morning, we're having our meeting in person at MDTA headquarters in accordance with live stream law. This meeting is being live streamed on the MDTA Board webpage. I would like to say welcome to the members and staff who are with us today, obviously. As a reminder, I ask that anyone who is in the room with us this morning to refrain from speaking unless you are presenting or answering a question to avoid any background noise on the live stream. I'd also like to ask members to make sure your microphone is on, including me, before you speak, and also that you say your name and motion and second to help us for the meeting minutes. For the record, members Gaines and Rosens are joining us via the conference call this morning. Thank you for joining us. There are no members in the public, no elected officials, and no media who have pre-registered to comment at this morning's meeting. For those who are watching this meeting via live stream, we have posted the materials for today's meeting on MDTA Board webpage so you can follow along if you would like. Finally, before beginning today's meeting, I would like to say welcome to our new Executive Director, Bruce Gardner. Thank you, Bruce. Bruce has a long history with the Toll Authority and the Maryland Department of Transportation. This is his second time serving as the Toll Authority's Executive Director, having previously held the role in 2013 through 2015. Before that, he served as the Director of Policy and Governmental Affairs and Assistant Secretary for Transportation Policy and Freight at the Maryland Department of Transportation. He's also served as Director of Strategic Development at the Toll Authority here. We know that Bruce's background would serve him well, and we look forward to working with him during his second tour as Executive Director. And most importantly for me, what Bruce and I share as a laser focus is the safety of everyone that touches our systems, right? Whether they be customers, whether they be employees, or they be contractors. And I know that you're going to continue to have that tremendous focus because that is our number one priority. So with that, welcome back, Bruce.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll save my other remarks for later. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Then we'll proceed to agenda item number 1, excuse me, which is the approval of the open session meetings of January 25th, 24.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Aye. Thank you. The second agenda item is approval of the closed session meeting minutes of January 25th.
This is Mary. I move for approval.
Thank you.
Member Ardinger, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Third agenda item is a resolution, the years of service recognition. Bruce?
Yes, we have one retiree in attendance with us today and one that couldn't make it. So I'm going to start with MDTA Police Corporal Virginia Downey, who is here with us today.
Good.
The resolution reads, whereas MDT Police Corporal Virginia Downey began her career with the Maryland Transportation Authority as an MDTA police officer, 1 on May 26, 2004, and whereas Corporal Downey continued to progress in law enforcement field and was promoted to MDTA Police Officer 2 on May 26, 2005, and to MDTA Police Corporal on March 11, 2009, a position she held until retirement. And whereas she is an invaluable member of the team and her co-workers express the fact that her dedication and teamwork will be missed, now therefore be it resolved, on the occasion of Corporal Virginia Downey's retirement from her distinguished career of exemplary service, the chairman and members of the Maryland Transportation Authority Board hereby express to Corporal Downey their most sincere appreciation for her excellence and commitment, and be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the minutes of the MDTA board meeting of February 29th, 2024, and a copy appropriately framed and be presented to the corporal as an expression of the board's appreciation and esteem.
Good.
Take pictures.
Count if it's on the
Oh, I wish. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. Thank you so much.
You have to hold your
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, it doesn't count when it's February 29th.
I know, that's it.
Squeeze it on in.
Thank you so much.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Take 2. Take another one just like that.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, members, as I indicated, our second retiree, Major Rico, is not with us today, so I will not read that resolution, but we do appreciate the Major's long career in the authority. I actually knew the Major at a lower rank when I was here before, so hopefully I can catch up to him, or the Lieutenant Colonel will express my thanks for his years of service. That's all for this agenda item.
Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is approval of contract awards. Jeffrey Davis, Mr. Davis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Chairman, morning, members of the board. For the record, my name is Jeff Davis from the Division of Procurement, and I have 4 items for approval. Am I okay to start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So the first item up for approval, we are seeking contingent approval to execute contract number MR 3030 -0000 for environmental on-call phase 4 services. The scope of work includes miscellaneous repairs, upgrades, replacements, rehabilitation, and new construction on stormwater and landscaping, natural resources mitigation, natural resources mitigation, including storm drains, stormwater management, best practices management, slopes, trees, and vegetation. We received 4 bids. The lowest bid was from Bronner Builders, which was 27% below our engineer's estimate. Our Office of Engineering and Construction performed a bid justification and found it to be fair. The MBE goal was 11% with 1% VSBE, and Bronner submitted a MBE plan that meets those goals. Any questions?
Sure. Any questions on the environmental on-call phase 4 project?
This is Mario. I will move for approval of MR 3030-0000.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I'll second that, Member Gaines.
Thank you, Member Gaines. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
All right. Second item, drainage outfall rehabilitation.
Thank you. We are seeking contingent approval to execute contract number MA 3018-0000R, drainage outfall rehabilitation. The scope of this project is to construct drainage improvements at 19 existing drainage outfalls located along I-895 Baltimore Harbor Tunnel, I-95 John F. Kennedy Highway facilities. The work includes repair, removal, replacement, and installation of drainage features such as manholes, inlets, end walls, end sections, storm drain pipes, vertical bends, concrete collars, ditches, riprap aprons, riprap plunge pools, gabion baskets, etc. Performing cured-in-place pipe rehabilitation, stabilizing and repairing existing erosion, providing, installing, and maintaining landscaping such as trees, shrubs, seeding, etc., and installing, maintaining, and removing erosion and sediment control practices. We received 5 bids. The lowest bidder was JJID Incorporated. Their bid was 14% above our engineer's estimate, but once again, our Office of Engineering and Construction performed a bid justification and found the bid to be fair. There is a 28% MBE goal with sub-goals and a 1% VSBE goal, and JJID Incorporated submitted an MBE plan that exceeds the MBE participation goal and meets the VSBE goal. JJID is a new vendor for the MDTA, but the references were checked. They have done work for other state agencies, and we look forward to bringing a new contractor into the fold here.
Any questions?
Chairman. Just one question. I see obviously it's 14% over your estimate as far as the engineer's estimate, but being a new, you checked the background obviously, and they've done work, have they done work in the state or other areas that?
Yes, they have. I can get the specific locations for you, or if Sushmita is aware. I'll let Sushmita Mitra from Office of Engineering provide a more specific answer.
Good morning, members. I'm Sushmita Mitra, Director of Engineering for MDTA Office of Engineering and Construction. They have previously performed work for Maryland State Highway Administration, though they are new to MDTA.
Mr. Chair, just to add to that, we actually had significant discussion on this particular contract because they were new. Some of us do have experience with them, and we just asked that they follow up with them on a frequent basis, that they need to kind of keep them working. And we also ask that we get reports at our capital committee meetings.
Great, very good.
We will closely monitor the administration of this contract because they are
Thank
new
you.
to MDTA.
Just
Thank you.
one other general question. So I see the variance in the engineer's estimates. So is this the continuation of sort of where we've been over the last year plus with in effect, the bids come in higher than our estimates just because of the current conditions of the industry?
This one is a little different. There were new MDE regulations that have been put in place for the couple of items
Okay.
that are actually over. One is a dewatering item for stream, and the other one is maintenance of stream flow.
Okay.
So when we prepared the estimate, we used an existing contract that we had done in the past, but we did not have sufficient history with
Okay.
bid prices for this. So again, because each site varies and the number and of the sandbags used, this item, could not be estimated accurately
Okay.
at that point of time. But now that we have seen it seems justified with the new regulations and the amount of work that is, estimated in these items.
Good. That's actually a better answer than I hoped for. Because otherwise I can think, oh, prices keep going up.
See the next one.
Okay.
Inflation wasn't the answer.
Yeah, that's just the market conditions. Okay, is there
Member
any other
Cox,
questions?
I move for approval.
This
Thank
is
you.
Member Ganjemi, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines. The third item is on-call facility building repairs.
Yes, sir. We are once again seeking contingent approval to execute contract number MR 3020-0000 on-call facility repairs. The scope of this project includes providing all labor, equipment, and materials necessary in performing miscellaneous facility and other types of repairs, upgrades, replacements, and new construction as directed by the MDTA project manager in an on-call, task-based manner at all MDTA facilities. Work could include all building components such as roof, ceiling, flooring, interior and exterior finishes, foundations, walls, windows and doors, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, fire alarm systems, security systems, automated systems, data, IT, elevators, etc. Work might also include underground fuel storage tanks, on-site utilities, and hazardous materials removal. For this bid, we received four bids. The low bid was right on the money with a 0% variance from our engineer's estimate, give or take on the scale of these bid amounts. There was a MBE participation goal of 18%, 1% VSBE goal, and the low bidder Mid-Atlantic General Contractors submitted an MBE plan that exceeds the 18% and meets the VSBE goal.
Very good. Any questions? Comments?
They nailed that one.
There you go.
This is Member Ganjemi, I'll move for approval of MR 3020-0000.
Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Member Von Paris.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fourth item is resurfacing north and south Baltimore Harbor Tunnel.
Yes, so we are seeking contingent approval to execute contract number HT 3018-0000 for the I-895 resurfacing north and south of the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel. This contract is for safety and resurfacing along the I-895 corridor. The work includes, but is not limited to, roadway resurfacing, drainage structure cleaning, W-beam traffic barrier replacements to meet all current standards. The project consists of two sections, the southern section and northern section. The southern section runs from I-895 interchange ramps to Howard County to approximately mile marker 4.8 on I-895 in Baltimore County. The northern section runs from approximately mile marker 13.5 on I-895 to Gore area for the I-895, I-95 interchange in Baltimore City. We received three bids. The lowest bidder, P. Flanagan and Sons, was 7% below our engineer's estimate, which is within range, so a bid justification was not completed. This one had a 29% MBE goal with sub-goals and a 1% VSBE goal, and P. Flanagan and Sons submitted an MBE plan that meets our MBE and VSBE goals. Any questions?
Any questions, comments? If not, is there a motion?
Member Gaines, I move for approval.
Thank you.
Member Sneed, second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Mr. Chairman, may I just ask one question?
Yes, Mr. Rose.
More generally about these projects. At the at the capital committee or just in general, are we evaluating the vendors that we're selecting who are Maryland-based and considering Maryland jobs, and are we looking at that data?
When we receive the bid, it's based on low bid. We don't have a preference for Maryland contractors, but we do require, especially over contracts over $500,000, we require prevailing wage rates. And then if any of the subcontractors for the prime and any of the subcontractors that exceed $100,000 on the contract are also going to be required to participate in DLLR's apprenticeship program underneath the prevailing wages. But there is no evaluation, as this is an invitation for bid, so it's based on meeting the qualifications and the lowest bid.
Anything else, Member Rosen?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jeffrey. Agenda item number 5, all open contracts, and this is Mr. Davis as well.
Okay, so it's not loading. Okay, so some of you might recall, I always stumble over my words with this, so I'm going to read it slow. And yeah, no, I got to count the commas. We do a lot of work here at the MDTA. Okay, so I am here to present the open contracts report for February 2024. So I'll start off listing the types of contracts and then the totals. So for MOUs, we have 20 contracts totaling $24,345,293.06. We have 67 architectural and engineering contracts totaling $704,500,000.00. We have 36 construction contracts totaling $1,765,659,218.53. We have 26 maintenance contracts totaling $34,063,272.78. We have 24 services contracts totaling $50,822,793.65. And we have 35 IT contracts totaling $158,379,240.43. That is a total of 208 contracts with a total amount of $2,737,769,818.45. Of that, we have paid to date $1,695,996,961.41. We have open PO balances of $679,058,364.82, and we have open totals. These are balances on the contracts that have not been invoiced yet of $362,714,492.23. Okay. Any questions on those totals?
Questions, comments?
No.
Make it repeat it.
You let him round this time?
I will defer to everyone's preference on that. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 6 is an update on Series 2024 revenue refund bond sale.
So Jeff's going to handle this.
Thank you. Yep.
Good morning for the board. For the record, I'm Deborah Sharpless, MDTA's Chief Financial Officer. If I first referred you to your memo, this is a follow-up item from a resolution passed by the board. It was Resolution 24-01, and it requires us to report out the bond sale for the Series 24A bonds, which was an economic refunding that occurred on February 21st, 2024. So, if you recall that we, the purpose of the bond sale was to reduce risk associated with the federal interest subsidies, and we would have been content with a break-even, near break-even outcome. That was what was part of the resolution. Now, if I can refer you to a table, it's at the bottom of page 2. In that table, to the left side is those limiting factors that was in the resolution. So basically the parameters we needed to act within. And then on the right side is our anticipated outcome from the bond. Bond sales are still closing. It's a very recent deal. So these are all anticipated at this point in time. So the first limitation was a limitation of the sale needed to be under $1,070,000,000. The actuals was $622,765,000. The risk reduction, we wanted to reduce risk. That was our intention. So it's anticipated, based on this deal, that the risk has been eliminated. And we also anticipate having a $15 million net present value savings. So in compliance with that requirement. The final maturity needed to occur on July 1st, 43. The maturity is July 1st, 43. Another area of compliance, the bond sale needed to occur prior to December 31st, 2024. February 21st is before that date, so in compliance. And we needed to report the outcome at the first board meeting immediately following the sale, which is this meeting. So these are anticipated, numbers that we expect. And if you recall in this resolution, there was the ability to also do a tender offer. So if staff moves forward with that, we will come back and report the results of that at that time. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from members?
Thank you.
So actually, very good news, right? Yeah, it's excellent news, so very good.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7 is approval of the quarterly review of investment strategy and benchmarks. Ellen?
This is our normal quarterly review. We've reviewed it in greater detail with the Finance Committee, and we're not recommending any changes to the investment strategy or benchmarks at this time. As we discussed, each quarter we have 2 basic strategies. One is a matched funding approach, so the bulk of our monies under management have investment maturities that are matched to our projected spending, so those are the monies in the operating and capital accounts. And then we also pay debt service twice a year, so the monies in the bond service accounts are matched to those expected or planned debt service payments. Our unrestricted cash is approximately $400 million, and that resides in the general account and M&O reserve. So we accept longer-term investment strategy for those 2 accounts. So we're basically exchanging higher interest rate volatility of returns in those portfolios in exchange for higher expected average annual returns. So we've had the same benchmarks for several years for the M&O reserve and the general account, and we're not expecting or recommending any changes at this time. And another element that we repeat, sort of regularly is that we don't anticipate or try to time the market or outguess where interest rates are headed. We maintain these sort of more or less consistent strategies. So I guess unless there are any questions, our recommendation is to continue with the current investment strategies and our benchmarks.
Any questions or comments from members? Member Von Pierce?
I'm just
I'll make a motion that we approve the investment strategy.
If you, just one member, we have one question from member Von Pierce.
Oh, sorry. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
I started with that.
I guess mine is more of a comment, Mr. Chairman. I guess when you take a look at this, and the Director of Treasury, Alan, supports this. The Investment Committee has reviewed this. They support this position. And the Finance Committee concurs, with the position of no changes in the strategy or benchmarks at this time. And so they're my comments.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from members? If not, is there a motion to approval to continue with the current investment strategy?
This Member Von Paris, I will make a motion.
Is there a second?
Member Ardinger, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Agenda item number 8 is the second quarter operating budget comparison. Mr. Brown?
Good morning. For the record, my name is Jeffrey Brown, Budget Director for the MDTA. You know it's going to be a challenging day when you're reviewing your presentation and your reading glasses, which we count on, great. But I need my reading glasses, so I have a backup pair, and they do the exact same thing. So I've taped it up. If it falls out and I have trouble reading, at least you'll know why, but I should be able to continue. As stated, I'm here today to provide an update of the budget versus actual performance for the second quarter year to date. As of December 31st, we have spent 39% of the budget compared to a target of 49%. Object 13 is the only object over budget at 147% spend rate due to higher insurance premiums. All other objects are at or below the targeted spending level. The primary drivers are personnel vacancies, the higher insurance premiums due to market pressures, as mentioned previously, and the seasonality of expenses. And by seasonality, I mean two things. One, true seasonality, where certain activities occur at different times of the year, like repairs and maintenance in the third and fourth quarter, or timing, where invoices come in at different times of the year. They don't come in smoothly. So that may drive variances either up or down depending on when the timing of activity occurs. In addition, we have identified risks associated with areas of overspending, but we expect to fully offset any overspending with underspending in other areas. So we don't anticipate any need for a budget amendment at this time. Moving into detail, salaries and wages are at 46% spend, which is basically on budget. Communications is below budget with a 21% spend rate, and that's due to, as mentioned, the lumpiness of invoices. We have a state-paid telecommunication budget, which has a state radio system invoice, which has not occurred yet. It's $1.6 million, but that's what's driving that below budget. We expect it to come back towards budget. Object 4, travel, is below budget at 33% spend, but we expect, again, this to come back towards budget. Fuel and utilities is slightly below budget, pretty close to being on budget at 42%. Motor vehicle operations and maintenance, Object 7, is basically on budget with 45% spend rate, but moving into the detail, vehicle purchases, Object 701, are above budget with a 71% spend rate, but again, that's when we take deliveries of the vehicles. We don't anticipate being over budget. Vehicle gas and oil is below with a 23% spend rate, and this is due to the easing of the gas prices. We assumed higher gas prices in the budget, and there has been a little stabilization or reduction in gas prices. All other major sub-objects in Object 7 are at or below budget, and we expect to be close to budget on these. Moving on to contractual services, we're below budget with a 25% spend rate. Some of the key variances are advertising at a 21% spend rate. We expect some public outreach activity, which typically occurs in the spring and early summer, so we expect this to come back towards budget. The next 3, engineers, equipment repairs and maintenance, and building repairs and maintenance, are all below budget. But again, the activity typically associated with these objects occur more heavily in the third and fourth quarter. And we anticipate these essentially coming back towards budget. Management studies is below budget with a 12% spend. We do have some programs, I skipped one to education and training is at 21% spend, but we do expect some programs in the third quarter, so that should be coming back towards budget. Management studies is below budget with a 12% spend rate. Again, this is a timing of activity when the funds will be spent. We do expect this to come back towards budget. IT objects, 841 through 869 are at 30% spend rate. We expect this to be on budget. This is typically one-time invoices that occur throughout the year, and again, we have had no surprises, so we expect that to be on budget. Easy Pass Service Center costs, 873, is under budget with a 21% spend rate. We continue to monitor this because we're working with the vendor on some delayed invoicing. We do expect some additional invoicing to come through, and we do expect this ultimately to come back towards budget. We don't believe it's going to stay below budget. Supplies and materials, Object 9, is slightly below budget, 33%. Roadway maintenance was at 38%. Again, we expect this to come back towards budget as more activity occurs in the later half of the year. Salt is at 0%, but we've had some winter weather. Obviously, we expect that to start ticking upwards. Uniforms is at 38%, which is close to budget, and transponders is at 30%. Again, we're monitoring this. We do have some invoices we expect to hit, and we've made another purchase order so that those will come back towards budget. Replacement equipment is below budget 16%. Both replacement maintenance and building equipment and replacement computer equipment are below budget, but again, it's when the deliveries are expected to come in. We expect some deliveries to come in, and that will come back towards budget. The last one, additional equipment, Object 11 is at 12%. As you know, a little bit of a broken record. We expect to be on budget again. It's when the activity occurs throughout the year. And then finally, fixed objects, Object 13 is over budget as mentioned. That's due to the insurance in 1309, which is the increased premiums we've talked about before that's driving that increase. In terms of risks and opportunities, we have identified some specific objects. They're over 3.5 million over budget, and that's primarily due to the insurance premiums, but we do have underspending in other categories, and we fully expect that to offset those potential risks to the budget. In further detail, we also have significant financial flexibility through our operating expenses due to a function of the net revenue generation that we have that is targeted to exceed 2 times the debt service. In addition, we do have the ability to have budget amendments as necessary to increase the budget if we feel that there is a risk. Again, we don't feel there's a risk at this time. And we have these quarterly budget meetings and ongoing review of variances so that we do realign the budget as we go forward as necessary, where we have, typical higher overspending, we'll adjust the budget, or savings where we're not expecting that to occur, going forward. We realign the budget as we do new submissions to make sure that we align it with what's really occurring on the ground. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions at this time.
Are there any questions or comments?
Chairman?
Mr. Von Paris, Member Von Paris?
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for everything you're doing here. Just one quick question. I assume when we purchase trucks and power equipment, we leverage the overall strength of the purchasing of the state of Maryland when we do that?
I would think so. I don't know that for a fact. I'd have to go back and ask that question specifically to make sure if that's true.
Equipment purchases, vehicles are generally handled under state contracts with the Department of General Services.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. With regards to insurance rates increase, is this a nationwide trend, not exclusive to us?
So if you recall, Member Sneed, we've talked about insurance, and it is rising significantly. When we looked at our premiums, if you recall, a portion of it was the value of our assets going up. That was one piece of it, but the other large contributor was the overall amount of claims that have occurred across the country, and therefore everybody's rates rise. Our insurance is something that we continue to work on because before we know it, it'll be time to renew again. We have a meeting coming up very shortly. Office of Engineering Construction's involved as well. And one of the things that we're going to do is a more comprehensive assessment of the value of our assets, just to kind of validate that number and try to de-risk our program a little bit. The more risk we can eliminate, the more comfortable companies are. Just trying to manage that cost. But and the Treasurer's Office, when we had met with them, they had told us that it's very likely that our rates will increase again next year. And that's why we made some of the changes. If you remember, we made the deductible change.
Thank you.
Member Sneed, just to add on to that, Deb and I talked about this a little while back. You are seeing, certainly in property and casual, and I would just say, for reference, commercial space, rates increasing at 2, 3, or 4x year over year. And I just got my renewal for my personal lines auto insurance. It was a 12% increase year over year for just because. So to your point, I think you're seeing it no matter what the business is. You're seeing that increase across the board.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much. Agenda item number 9 is the second quarter capital budget comparison. Ms. Stump?
Good morning.
Morning.
For the record, my name is Jennifer Stump, and I'm the Assistant Capital Program Manager. Today, I am presenting the second quarter review of the fiscal year 2024 capital budget versus the actual spending as outlined in the fiscal year 24 to 29 draft CTP. This information was also presented to the Finance Committee on February 8th. As of December 30th, 2023, 22.7% of the fiscal year 24 $539.6 million budget was spent as compared to the target spending level at 50%. The actual spending through the second quarter was $122.6 million. 19 of the 83 projects budgeted in fiscal year 2024 were within acceptable spending limits of 25 to 75%, with a plus or minus 25% of the 50% target. Due to normal lags in invoicing, a plus or minus 25% threshold is determined to be reasonable. In Attachment A, it details 10 projects that were budgeted for more than $11 million each in fiscal year 2024. The actual spending through the second quarter on these 10 projects was $84.9 million. For risks and opportunities, procurement and contractor delays and supply availability impacted the fiscal year 2024 second quarter spend rate. As the weather improves, construction activity will increase in the third and fourth quarters. Projects beginning construction in the spring include the I-695 subgrade improvements at Bear Creek, Maryland 24 northbound auxiliary lane, Maryland 924 through Singer Road intersection, resurfacing north and south of the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel, and major work on the rehabilitation of decks of the Bay Bridge on the eastbound span. That concludes the quarterly update. If there's any questions or concerns.
Any questions or comments from any member? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good morning.
Agenda item number 10 is a quarterly update on traffic and revenue. Sharpless.
Thank you. I'm going to refer to your memo from first with key takeaways found on page 1. So as this is for reporting as of December 31st, so we have halfway through the fiscal year. And, we say that we're slightly below forecast by $1.3 million, which for all intents and purposes, when you consider a forecast, that's being spot on the budget or the forecast. Easy Pass revenue continues to outperform the forecast slightly, and then administrative and video toll collections is slightly below forecast. Now, if I could take you to the first table, which is on page 2, and it's just a really quick look at transactions. First, on a transactional basis, transactions are roughly 3.4 million below FY23. A piece of that that's contributing that is backlog. If you remember, last year we were still dealing with a little bit of backlog. That's what causes that difference. On a transactional basis, when you compare us to forecast, we're 1.6 million transactions ahead. But then when you look at us from a revenue perspective, fiscal year 23 and 24, we're practically identical. And then from a forecast, that's where you see we're 1.3 million behind. Next, I'd like to take you down to the attachments, starting with attachment 1. And so from attachment 1, you can see how we are 4.6 million ahead on the Easy Pass side, and then 5.9 million behind on video and administrative and pay by plate, and that's what nets to the 1.3 million. So then when we go down to attachment 3, we answer the question why. What makes up that 1.3 million? And the average daily revenue from Easy Pass is the 4.6 million ahead. Pay by plate usage is slightly higher than forecast. And then the two items that are below forecast is video toll CCU collections and administrative toll revenue is below. So with that, happy to answer any questions. We do not have any concerns with our revenue aligning with our forecast, and therefore, we have no concerns about our financial coverage.
Any questions or comments?
Deb, for the CCU amount, is that number net of their fee, or is that an aggregate before their fees apply?
That number would be net.
Okay.
Just one quick one, and this is just almost, do we track VMT growth and monitor it related to transactions? I mean, just trend line, sort of what's happening in VMT in general, is there any difference between what in transactions?
As part of our official 10-year forecast,
Right.
that is one
That's one
of the elements that CDM Smith analyzes, along with a number of other economic factors. Tracking volumes, transactions, and stuff like that. OEC also does monitoring.
Just, because there's obviously a lot of debate about trying to drive EMT down. Eventually, does that play out in the transaction level for us as we think about this? Okay.
Our forecast, if we smooth out, anything that was associated with the backlog, we continue to see a 1% growth year over year.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions, Deb? Thank you very much. Item 11 is the HR committee update. Member Gaines?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Human Resource Subcommittee met on February 6th of this year, and we started by receiving an overview of our newest e-learning initiative, which is a pulse appraisal tool. 246 people participated in the first 24 hours, so it was it got a lot of attention. This tool will help employee performance, highlight training needs, and hopefully reward high-performing employees. Secondly, we received a report from the Recruiting and Examinations Unit regarding hiring, and I don't know if, as you all recall, the governor had a goal of reducing our vacancy rate, or the whole state vacancy rate by 10%, and we worked very hard at it. I think there was a total of 393 requests for positions to be filled. We filled 388 of them, although unfortunately some were filled multiple times. So some of the hires didn't last. So we kind of were busy chasing our tail just a little bit, but even so, we had hiring events at Fort McHenry Tunnel and the JFK facility, so it was really a successful year, and I think we did reduce the vacancy rate 6%. So that was a good start. We heard about the Employee Relations Unit, which is a unit designed to deal with conflicts among workers and management by facilitating discussion, scheduling meetings, and holding people accountable. And they have had some success dealing with several divisions which were experiencing tension. And then lastly, we heard about the new employee orientation program. We're trying to get the new employees together to receive from one source the overview of the MDTA and all its policies and benefits. So I think that's also off to a good start. So that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from Mr. Gaines? All right, thank you, sir. And just real quickly on the NEO program, that is something that we have started at headquarters. I think it's really important, that as we, particularly in the market we're in, trying to attract people and keep people, that they understand that, when you enter the department, there's tremendous career opportunities in so many areas. And what I've found, and just we just kicked off our first one last week, they don't even know, the scale of what we do, to be frank. And I literally had one individual that we just hired that said, they were sort of testing us out, whether they were going to stay with us. And now that they learned about the department, they're like, yeah, this is my career, right? So that is really a good point, and obviously the toll authority. And, my philosophy is, you focus on the career, the goals of the person's career will give you the best, person on the long term for us and for them. So that's the thinking behind that. So thank you for your involvement with that. I know it starts to, cross some lines for people, but I think it's important for us to do.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was able to present to that new class of, and it was the port. We didn't have any members in that inaugural one, but there were members of the port, the airport, Secretary's office, and it was. I think it was helpful for them to hear what we do, and also I think you and I are kind of the example of just going everywhere, different places in the department over long careers. So I think they'd like to hear that too.
And it's interesting, some of the questions you get, because one I got was, are we publicly traded? So, it just gives you a sense of, they just trying to get their understanding of who we are and what we do. Yeah, every 4 years, that's right. But that's good. That's why we're doing it. So anyway, I think that the long term, it's paid dividends for us. So thank you very much, Mr. Gaines, Delegate Gaines. All right, legislative session update.
All right.
Mary?
Good morning. I'm Mary O'Keefe, and I'm going to just do a brief introduction for our legislative update. So we have James presenting this week, as Brad was out last week sick, but we're happy Brad is back with us today. I wanted to just highlight a few important dates coming up. Sine Die, April 8th. That's the last day of session, so that is fast approaching. We're 40 days
Not
left.
fast enough.
No, okay.
Who said that?
Yeah.
Happy day.
So we have 40 days, we're 40 days left, I understand. Another important day coming up is March 18th, which is Crossover Bill Day. And what that means is that each chamber has to send to the other chamber the bills they intend to favorably act upon. After that, then a bill has to go to Rules Committee to move out. So we're looking forward to that day as well, March 18th.
If I could.
Just, March 18th, I thought, is that a little bit later than normal, or is that under the code now?
That's the date we were given. I think that it's close to normal. I'd have to ask Pilar from last year's date, but I get the list of dates and
Seems like a crossover, but anyhow.
it does seem late. But
Yeah, thanks.
we look forward to that. So that's crossover dates. So those are two important dates coming up. So since the last meeting in January, a lot has been happening in Annapolis, and a lot of bills that James and Brad have been tracking and actively monitoring. And so James is here to tell you about some of the significant ones that have been introduced since the last board meeting and have had some hearings. So I will now turn it over to James.
Thank you so much, Mary. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. Hope everybody's doing well. For the record, my name is James Kittleman, Assistant Manager of Government Relations here at the MDTA. As she said, I'm here to provide a brief update on the 2024 session of the Maryland General Assembly. So start out on February 22nd, the Secretary, Executive Director Gardner, and Chief Financial Officer Deb Sharpless testified in front of the House Transportation and the Environment Subcommittee during the MDTA budget hearing. Then the next day, on February 23rd, the Secretary and Executive Director Gardner testified in front of the Senate Public Safety, Transportation and Environment Subcommittee during the MDTA budget hearing as well. Since coming on board as Executive Director, Bruce has been meeting with members of the General Assembly. Tomorrow, the MDTA, along with the Secretary and the Port, will be appearing before the Eastern Shore delegation virtually. This is something that the MDTA has done in the past. Moving on, I will now discuss the significant bills that have a potential to impact the MDTA that we have been tracking this session. First off, we have Senate Bill 10, which was introduced by Senator Kagan. SB 10 alters the current prohibition against obscuring or modifying a vehicle registration plate with intent to avoid identification by instead prohibiting such activity in a manner that may prevent identification. Additionally, the bill alters the penalty and points assessment for such violations. Under the bill, a person must be issued a warning for a first offense. For second or subsequent violations, 3 points rather than 1 are assessed against the license of a person guilty of a violation. We submitted a joint letter with the We submitted a joint letter with the MVA noting the positive impacts the bill has on E-ZPass operations, as well as our concerns with the bill in regard to police enforcement. SB 10 had a hearing on January 31st, but there has not been a voting session scheduled yet. The cross file for this bill is House Bill 750, which was sponsored by Delegate Ziegler. HB 750 had a hearing on February 22nd, but like SB 10, no voting session has been scheduled yet. Moving on to House Bill 1369, which is a Montgomery County delegation bill that was requested by Senator Kramer. Last session, Senator Kramer introduced similar legislation. HB 1369 authorizes the placement and use by the MDTA of no more than 4 speed monitoring systems on Maryland Route 200, or the ICC, in Montgomery County. The bill moved through the Montgomery County Land Use, Transportation, and Public Safety Committee, and then was passed favorably by the full Montgomery County House delegation. The hearing for HB 1369 is scheduled for Thursday, March 7th at 1 p.m. The next bill is House Bill 135, which was introduced by Delia Charkoudian. The bill repeals a prohibition on pedestrians using an MDTA highway and alters the prohibition on bicycles using an MDTA highway. As drafted, the bill requires the MDTA to construct separated bicycle and pedestrian pathways on MDTA facilities under certain circumstances, such as repairing or maintaining any MDTA facility. We submitted a letter to the House Environment and Transportation Committee, which noted a fiscal cost of more than $8 billion. Senator Waldstreicher introduced the cross-file, Senate Bill 593, and both HB 135 and SB 593 had hearings on February 22nd. Comments made during both hearings were centered around the fiscal impact, as well as concerns regarding the feasibility of the proposal. For instance, safety concerns were discussed since many MDTA roadways are not safe for pedestrians and bicycles given the speed limit. Other concerns focused on whether current MDTA facilities could even accommodate bicycle and pedestrian accessibility. In MDTA's letter to the committee, it was noted that the MDTA has planners and engineers that work through the appropriate uses for the roadways, and a one-size-fits-all approach is almost never appropriate. MDTA plans and designs its projects to accommodate state and local, current, or planned improvements, which could include pedestrian access, bicycle lanes, or parking. The letter also mentioned how the MDTA coordinates proactively with transit agencies to plan, design, and construct multimodal options and connections as part of its capital projects. As of now, a voting session has not been scheduled for either HB 135 or SB 593. And then lastly, we have Senate Bill 1093, the Maryland Toll Rate Reform Act of 2024, which was introduced by Senator Gazzoni, who is the chair of the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee, and who also sits on the Transportation Revenue and Infrastructure Needs Commission, or the TRAIN Commission. Delegate Corman, who's the chair of the House Environment and Transportation Committee, who also sits on the TRAIN Commission, introduced the cross-file House Bill 1070. The proposed legislation establishes a transportation facilities overage account within the Transportation Trust Fund. It requires that the MDTA transfer money into the transportation facilities overage account under certain circumstances. The bill also authorizes and requires the Maryland Department of Transportation to allocate funds that have been deposited into the transportation facility overage account to certain construction and maintenance projects. The bill defines optimal toll rate and near optimal toll rate and outlines various factors and discount offerings the MDTA should consider when determining these rates. And then lastly, the bill requires the MDTA to fix, revise, charge, and collect fees, tolls, and other charges at the near optimal toll rate. SB 1093 has a hearing later today at 1 p.m., and the hearing for HB 1070 is scheduled for this Friday, tomorrow, March 1st at 1 p.m. I will now turn it over to Bruce for a further comment.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a few things for you all, because it's obviously something that I had to jump right into, starting the day after or being appointed the day after session had already begun. On HB 135, I just wanted to make note that we are working closely with folks in the Secretary's office on an update to the departments and the authorities' complete streets policies. So there are things that are actively being done in the direction of House Bill 135. We're hoping that we do get credit for that in the sponsor line. We'll be trying to communicate there are many more things that we think that we can do better in that area, because we know there's been criticism of the agency in the past. Moving on to the more significant bills of the Senate Bill 193 and House Bill 170, James mentioned that there's been a lot of activity. This is one that we're really focused on because of its direct impact on toll rates, and the board's independence in this matter. We really do want to be part of that transportation solution. It's in the interest of both the department and MDTA to follow everything that is going on as the state struggles with the the different financial picture that we're in this year and in the future with the gas tax not being as much of a viable revenue source. So just wanted to, make sure you understood the attention that the secretary, the chairman, and I and the team are giving to those bills. As things move forward, we'll be giving you updates, but we have been communicating, some of the risks that we see with the bill, and some ways that they could be a little bit, just talking through those impacts. So anyway, we have provided fiscal updates and statements to staff in Annapolis, and we'll be getting back to you in March with further updates on those two bills in particular.
Very good. Any questions or comments for the executive director, for the legislative team?
Just one quick one. Can you keep us informed before our next board meeting on that? Those are pretty major bills.
Sure.
Of course.
Like not to wait a month, I guess.
Yeah, and yes, absolutely. That's why I wanted to highlight it personally, is to, we can do that.
Very good. All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Agenda item number 13, executive director's report. Bruce?
Okay, well, so to more officially state, that it is a pleasure to be here for my first official board meeting. Did have a chance to make some statements to you all last month at the special meeting, and then started after your January board meeting. But it has been a real pleasure to re-engage with the senior management team. Can't thank them enough, the chiefs and council, Kim Millender, for really helping me hit the ground running, for Percy stepping in as acting and helping me get acclimated in the transition, because it was an interesting time of year to start into leading the agency. But as the chairman indicated, a few things that I want to focus on coming into the agency. Safety first and foremost. We didn't mention on the legislative side that Lieutenant Governor's task force on the work zone safety is moving through Annapolis, and Will Pines, who you're all very familiar with, and Chrissy Nizer have really been doing a good job on that, and it's something we are also concerned with. But that is a first and foremost thing I think for myself and for all of us. But customer service and kind of getting through those challenges that we've had here and creating a new standard for customer service is something that we all need to focus on with that toll collection process. We know there are challenges there. I look forward to engaging with the team and the contractors on that. I've already sat in on a couple of those coordinating calls, really trying to get a grasp of the trends and what the corrective actions are there. So project delivery, you heard an update on the capital program with the OEC team. Got those major projects coming up, so want to focus on that as well as just that creation of a more sustainable transportation network. We haven't really talked about that much. House Bill 135, I think, gets to that, but there's other things that we're doing. Deb and I met earlier this week on some things that, honestly, the rating agencies are looking at us to do these things as well. So we've got a lot of opportunity to improve our standards in sustainable transportation. So with that, I would just say that, I think on the legislative session, James has covered almost all of that. It's just a busy time of year. Member Gaines mentioned some of the HR, improvements that we have there, but we've also successfully implemented some other web-based systems. One in particular, the PRISM system. This is implementing phase 1. It's a significant milestone in the Civil Rights and Fair Practices Division to enhance compliance and operational efficiency. The system will increase the effectiveness and efficiency of our program for DBE, MBE, VSB, and SBR programs. The phase 1 implementation is for federal DBE contracts, and once that is functioning, the team will move to phase 2, which is implement state contracts. This will allow the division to monitor second and third tier subcontractors, non-MBE subcontractors, and other entities. The reporting module and customer reports will enable MDTA to get real-time contract attainment data, which is just a great thing compared to where we have been in the past. Second significant milestone for the agency and for those that are here before me was the awards that were presented at an annual MDQI conference on February 7th. Each year there's awards, so I think she did that too early, but anyway. This is, we received 3 awards, obviously the most significant, so it's, we have the first of the awards was for the Nice Middleton Bridge Replacement Project. It received awards for green sustainability, environmental engineering, and it was awarded to iCivil. That was for a project over $5 million. So these rewards kind of reflect our contractor involvement too, and so it's just as much a credit to them as it is to us. But on the second one was the Express Toll Lane northbound extension, Abington Road Overpass Replacement Project, which received an award for construction subcontractor, and that was Rommel Construction. And then the third was for the Chesapeake Bay Automated Lane Closure System project, which received an award for partnering, and that was awarded to Wagman. So the Stanley Cup right here, as they refer to it at MDQI, without any beverages inside it, is related to the Nice Middleton Bridge project. It was awarded the MDQI Project of the Year for over $5 million. We do not, unfortunately, get to keep this big one. This is, just like the Stanley Cup, it goes around. Jim pointed out the plaque. I guess we are the first one on the second side. So there's more panels. I think there's, 5 on the first side. We get to keep the tiny one, right? So, a sipper cup gets to stay with us. But I just, can't speak enough to how proud I was to sit there and see the award ceremony. We actually got Will up to into one of the pictures for the Nice Middleton Bridge with the team, and having been involved in the early planning of that project before it was fully funded, it's just amazing to see that. And I'll can reference some other things later. So do we want to get a picture of this now or wait until the end? Did Derek leave? Or okay. Nope, you're looking right at it. We'll wait till the end? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's just, this is a big thing.
It is a big thing.
Literally and figuratively. So, the next update I wanted to provide was regarding the Bay Bridge. There are 2 projects that we continue with the various projects, and including the eastbound deck replacement. The installation of the new deck panels is scheduled to begin in late March. We have kind of 2 tentative dates near the end of the month, and Jim and the team are working closely with the contractor on that. As you may recall, it was scheduled for the winter, so one of those dates might get us before winter actually ends, but we'll be getting out there in March, so that's a big milestone for that project. In addition, the queue detection system at the bridge has reached the end of phase 1, which is the camera installation and software development, and will soon proceed to phase 2, which is model testing and calibration. Also related to the Bay Bridge in the area, we do have a BRAG meeting scheduled for April 3rd at 6 p.m. It'll be live streamed for the public who cannot attend in person. So that will be a good update for them after the first couple weeks of the panel installation at the Bay Bridge. Excuse me. On March 21st, our Civil Rights and Fair Practices will be holding an outreach event. It's our first outreach event, and it's entitled Doing Business with the Maryland Transportation Authority. It'll take place from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the 21st. I'm told it's fully subscribed, so I guess we're in a waiting list situation right now. That's great news that we can have that kind of event to provide opportunities for interaction with the authority. So that concludes my very serious remarks about things, but we do have one fun thing to mention to you, and that is that we are going to be undertaking, I believe today, a public employee and public engagement campaign to really engage with the public on something that's a little quirky, but at the Transportation Authority, unlike any of the other modes in the state, we have a piece of tunnel cleaning equipment. The company is called MULAG. M-U-L-A-G, that provides this equipment, and the equipments have very exciting pieces of identification like TWG 600L. I'm not sure exactly which one ours, but I was looking at this up, and it's like, not the most impressive thing. So we really want to engage with the employees on suggesting names for the tunnel. You all might recall boat naming competitions in the past that have resulted in some interesting things for different entities. We'll narrow down the suggestions to 3 possible names, and then we'll turn to the public to have them engage with that as well. So just a fun thing that the team thought up, move us forward into the spring season, and when tunnel cleaning isn't is quite as important, but that's the kind of fun we get to have on our job. So that's the end my comments on that note.
Very good. Any questions or comments for the executive director?
I'm glad you added the fun thing in, because that is important, that our employees do have, we want to get things done, but we should enjoy it a little bit, so thanks for sharing.
Sure thing, thank you.
Thank you. Just two. One is, how Bruce has been received in Annapolis with some of our committee people and some leadership is very positive. So it puts us in a very good place, again, given your experience, so that's very good. And I just want to thank you, Bruce, because I know you hit the ground running before you ever started here. So I just appreciate all the effort, because to enter the time that you entered, obviously where the agency's been, and then enter in effect at the beginning of session, almost mid-session for you in some ways, is fantastic. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. In response to Member Cox's comment about the calendar, I would note that April 8th is probably the earliest date that they will ever conclude in April. Got a leap year, and it's the second Monday. The first Monday started on the 1st, so you can appreciate that kind of, legislative trivia. Can't get away from it from where I started. So
Very good. All right, so at this point, the agenda is complete. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Member Ardinger also move.
So, Mr. Gaines, second. Thank you very much. Thank you, Member Gaines and Member Rosen, for joining us today. Thank you all. This now concludes the MDA Board meeting at 10:15. Thank you very much.